What is up, Illini Nation? It's Austin Berkland alongside Sunny Verma, and we have a big matchup on Friday night. Yes, it's no longer high school football season on Friday nights. It is college football season with the way that these media contracts have gone. That's a story for a different day, but we have a ranked Illini football matchup between the Illinois Fighting Illini and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. 24 versus number 22. And Sonny, what are your initial thoughts on this big game, and how are you feeling before we enter in to the unknown of a ranked versus ranked matchup? It's been a while.
So excited for the idea that Illinois has a big game on their first day of Big Ten play. It's Friday night. This isn't one of those games where Illinois comes stumbling in at 1-2 or a very poor looking 2-1, and the odds are we're going to get trounced on national television like we did last year against. I keep flashing back to that Kansas game. Today's basically the entire world all week long has been talking about how this Nebraska and Illinois game is the game of arguably the week. Two even matched teams. The spread, I believe, right now is about -9 in Nebraska's favor, but Nebraska gets a couple extra points because so many people like their rabid fan base as is. You're talking about teams number 22, teams number 24. And again, the fact that it matters is that's nice.
I mean, it is pretty incredible to think where this program is at after the predictions of 3 wins and 2 wins by national writers. It feels like Illinois would be the talking point of the entire country of the Big Ten if it wasn't for the Indiana Hoosiers scoring 1 million points this year. They've kind of usurped Illinois as the true surprise team of the Big Ten so far, but Illinois can snatch that back tonight in a big way. And honestly, it begins with this defensive line. Are they going to be able to get a pass rush on Dylan Raiola? Are the defensive backs for real? And is Luke Altmaier going to have a clean pocket? Those are the big questions that Illinois can answer tonight. And I am very excited to find out these answers. If the answer is no, I still predict this team will be a bowl winning team or a bowl going team. But if the answer is yes, that changes the expectation a little bit to beating a team that was a college football playoff dark horse contender that can propel Illinois to something further. Not saying that Illinois is going to be in a college football playoff, but they could be one of the top teams in the second tier of this Big Ten after the likes of Oregon, after the likes of Ohio State. Illinois can be one of those programs that people look at as a consistent organization of college football, which is pretty cool to see.
Exactly. The nice thing about being in under Brett Bielema is no longer am I really afraid that we're going to be entering this game tonight and we're going to embarrass ourselves. I know that for we're going whether we lose or not, we're going to be putting up an effort. It should be a pretty decent game, as we talked about earlier. And as you said, if we lose, we lose. Like hopefully we keep it somewhat competitive, but that I don't think it's going to change my mind on what the rest of the season is going to look like. I think we are still capable of winning, 6 games, 7 games. Ultimately that's what we wanted this year. Making a bowl game. And so, tonight for me, I want to see what Luke does. I talked about in my game prediction video this morning for Locked on the Line. I think if Illinois comes out the victor today, it's going to be Luke's coming out party. I really think that I'm afraid that I don't know if the offensive line is going to gel. I don't think an offensive line who's struggled for 3 games is all of a sudden going to figure it out against the Black Shirts of Nebraska. So the game script might just be something like Luke being able to make the throws to Pat Bryant, Zachary Franklin, and I don't know what you think about this, but I've got a sneaking feeling that this might be Khalil Valentine's coming out party too with what he provides. I think he could be a good uh, matchup nightmare for Nebraska.
You need speed against this defensive line of Nebraska, and so far, Caden Fagan hasn't been able to really propel this offense in a way that a lot of Atlanta fans expected and slash hoped that he would this year. But Khalil Valentine has done well, and Josh McCray has kind of blended the best of both worlds as well of speed and strength at the line of scrimmage. And Josh McCray's vision of the holes that he's seeing so far has been great. Um, Caden, he'll figure something out, I believe, especially as we get deeper on the season, defensive linemen get more tired. I think the ability of Caden to use his physicality against more tired opponents is going to help out a lot. But I think Khalil Valentine is going to have a big game if Illinois wins. And I think the screen game could be a huge factor here because this is a weird offensive line for a Brett Bielema team. Brett Bielema is used to the ground and pound, tough interior offensive lineman. But this year, it's the strength is in the tackles. The strength is in the pass blocking for the Illini. And Luke Altmaier's had a clean pocket thus far, outside of a couple misplays by a couple guys. So if Illinois wins this game, there's going to be a huge passing attack with the likes of Pat Bryant and Zachary Franklin, and I think that's going to be the way that Illinois wins this game. Oddly enough, where you think the barge formation when Illinois wins a game like they did against Pitt a few years back, you think run and tumble and let's limit the amount of possessions that Nebraska gets. I think there's going to be a part of that where you kind of blend the best of both worlds between the amount of time of possession and some deep threats against this tough secondary of Nebraska. Again, that's if Illinois wins. If Illinois loses, it's going to be a battle where Luke Allmeyer gets sacked a lot, where nothing is going in the run game, and the defensive line of the Illini is kind of exposed against the running game of the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Yeah, it's funny, Illinois being 3-0 this season. I mean, would surprise some folks, but a lot of people expected us to be 2-1. But when Illinois succeeds, again, if you mentioned this before the season started, you would have imagined, oh, they must be playing proper Brett Bielema ball. But really, this isn't it. This isn't Brett Bielema ball. We're kind of playing the opposite. We're the way our offense has performed so far. The first three games, it's almost the pass is setting up the run as opposed to the opposite. But yeah, for me, the key when it comes to Nebraska, this game tonight at least, is you're going up against an 18-year-old freshman on a Friday night in his first Big Ten game. Now, I've done a couple rounds for Nebraska media this week, and they think I'm kind of crazy for having this sort of expectation. But all I said was my hope is that Illinois has, at least the first three games, scored on all three first drives. I think if all of a sudden we can score first, we can put a little pressure on Nebraska, on Dylan, to have to make plays. Right now, they've been coasting the first three games. They've had very little to sweat about. What I want to do is I want to be up 17-13 in the third quarter. All of a sudden, the stadium gets a little bit nervous. You want to take the crowd out of it a little bit. And again, you want to force this 18-year-old quarterback to make plays. Now, can he make them? Probably, sure, but make him make him. Like I think the game is lost immediately if our defensive line, our linebackers can't stop their running game, and they kind of do something similar to what Kansas was doing to us, where they're averaging 7-8 yards rush to carry. If it comes down to that, I don't give much chance to Illinois. But I think if we can turn this game into a Luke Altmaier versus Dylan Reliola match, I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, this game is it's almost a curse that it's at home for Nebraska because the expectations are starting to grow a little bit for Dylan and for the rest of this Nebraska team and Matt Rule himself. So I think with the expectations here, and if a team like Illinois, even as a number 24 team, it's not like they're oh yeah, they are for sure a top 25 team in the country. We have no issue. We're not scared of them. That's kind of I think that's kind of what Nebraska feels of Illinois. But if Illinois can hit the first punch here, like you said, like this crowd can get a little bit more nervous about what Dylan Raiola is, and it's going to force Dylan to make some plays. So I think this is going to be a fascinating play of who wins the crowd early on, and that could define this game. If Nebraska does, I think it's going to be about a 10 to 17 point win for the Cornhuskers. But if Illinois can kind of negate the crowd out of this, it's going to be a Illinois win, or at least a Nebraska wins on a field goal at the very end. They had the ball last kind of thing. So I'm kind of glad this is at Nebraska in a way.
But even like the scenario you last mentioned is good for Illinois. If you watch
Yeah.
Matt Rule's press conferences, he's nervous about their kicking game. When it comes to special teams, it's a big, giant advantage towards the Illini. So, obviously we want to turn our field goal positions into 7 points, but I think when you talk to the coaches, we trust our kicking game, especially if it's late in the match or if it's a clutch kick at the end of the game. I think Brett trusts our guys a lot more than Matt does theirs. I think if it comes down to a Nebraska kicker lining up, while he's lining up, you're going to have a full sellout Memorial Stadium all holding their breath. And that's going to be a lot of pressure on this kicker who up until right now really hasn't performed very well, and the coaches have almost admitted that it's a work in progress.
And I really hope that Brett Bielema has a timeout to make the kicker think about it a little bit more. ABH or ABH, however you say it. Good luck, Illinois. Y'all got this. Is that a Texas fan that hates Nebraska out there? Who are you supporting? But we appreciate the good luck on this Friday Night Lights here in the Big Ten on Fox. I truly feel like in this new world of college sports, these are games that Illinois has to win to build up recruiting, build up NIL, build up a lot of positive things here for what you need to do to compete in the future for Big Ten football. And I really think that Brett Bielema might have something going on here. I don't know exactly what his ceiling is, but it truly feels like this is something that he's been building towards, and that's why I have a sneaky trust that I even probably shouldn't have in this game. But I feel like a little bit more confident just because Brett Bielema is the coach here.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk to Nebraska fans, they're full on expecting a blowout, and maybe that's just Nebraska fans by nature. Like they're drinking their own Kool-Aid or whatnot. But I woke up this morning and it again, like, I don't know if confident is the right word, but like I'm looking forward to a really good game. I think that there's a chance that, Brett and Barry Lundy Jr. have held a couple things back offensively, preparing for a defense like this. And quite honestly, like when you take a look at the different talents on both sides of the team, I would take Illinois skill players over Nebraska's skill players. And so it all comes down to making the plays. And at least this year, Luke has played mistake free football. Pat Bryant, Zachary Franklin are two of the best receivers in the Big Ten. You have two NFL caliber wide receivers that Luke Altmaier is throwing to. And, the running game is something to still figure out. And I'd call it probably the X factor tonight. But I think if Luke can make his plays, and if we can steal some points on defense, get another Xavier Scott pick six, or at least an interception, and get some really good field position on Nebraska's side, I think that'll help us out in a great deal.
Yeah, this is the Illini Cast with Sonny Verma, Austin Berkland, part of the Armchair Illini Network. Just want to say to like, comment, and subscribe on this YouTube channel. It does work, and we appreciate it. Getting the word out and helps with the algorithms and different things that YouTube loves. And yeah, go to Armchair Illini for all your written needs for Illini sports and Big Ten sports. Got a Big Ten basketball schedule out that Armchair Illini has a huge response to. So But yeah, back to the game. Who's your pick to click that's not Luke Altmaier today if Illinois is to win this game?
I mean, I think I may have spoiled it earlier. I think Khalil Valentine. I think a lot of fans were wondering why he hasn't played more in the first three games with the amount of production that he's shown when he was on the field. And I almost think that maybe it's because Brett and Barry decided that, hey, let's kind of save this one. Let's not give the opposition too much game tape on Khalil. Whether I don't know what his run blocking is going to be like, but I don't know if that's going to be necessary tonight. At this point, we just may need his shiftiness. We may need his ability to juke, in a different direction very quickly. Caden Fagan, I still think is a superior runner, but Caden looks up and he runs in one particular direction. And if the hole is there, good luck to the defense. But if the hole's not there, then all of a sudden, well, he struggled the last couple of games. That's why his averages have been down, his yards have been down. Khalil will offer kind of a different type of weapon. And again, if Illinois wins today, I think it might be the nation finding out about this freshman that Illinois fans are already talking about.
Yeah, I'm going on the defensive side of the ball. I'm going Dylan Rosiak. I think he is a key contributor if Illinois were to um, stop this run game of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And they need his expertise in leadership and just veteran ability back there to kind of play the chess game with the freshman quarterback, Dylan Raiola. If Dylan is able to win that mental battle, if he is able to help with the run stopping, then I think that's going to make Dylan Raiola have to throw the ball against this secondary that's done so well. I mean, Xavier Scott with his interceptions. Miles Scott has done a great job. Strain has had some unfortunate pass interferences in there, but I still have faith in the young defensive back. And then Terrence Brooks, he played a little bit more last week. So I don't know if that's gearing up for this Nebraska game if he hasn't truly learned the playbook yet, and they were just kind of holding him back to guys that have been in the system a little bit longer than him. Maybe this is his way of helping out the team this week is just to be that third DB back there to help everyone out. So I think Dylan Rosiak is going to be a huge factor in this game if Illinois were to win.
I think that'd be great. If Dylan Rosiak has a great game, then I like our chances even more. You know, just for the reasons that you said. And another thing I want the viewers to kind of keep note of as we watch this game, I talked to a Nebraska insider who, he covers Nebraska and he like watches the all 22 and all whatnot. One of the Huskers like biggest tricks in their bag is they love to get pass interferences on the cornerback. They're very adept at as soon as the cornerback is not looking, they're going to Dylan will make the throw and force the wide receiver to come back, run into the cornerback, and all of a sudden free first down, free 15 yards. So our cornerbacks, and I'm sure that's something Brett Bielema and Aaron Henry are have been going over tape over and over again to, hey, you need to be aware of this. These guys are going to try this. Okay. This is what's going to be happening. You just hope it's not going to happen 2, 3, 4 times in this game, man. Because the teams are so evenly matched that penalties could be the difference.
And I do appreciate the fact that Illinois has played a mobile quarterback this year in Jaden Daniels, because if this is the first time and you're going up against a guy that they call mini Mahomes out there that can scramble, that can avoid the rush and everything, I think it would have been more of a nightmare for Illinois. But the fact that you played Daniels, I know he wasn't the most accurate the day that Illinois played him, but I do like that it's not going to be a brand new situation for this Illini defense to deal with a situation like that. So that's given me a lot of hope that they're going to be prepared for this game and that it's not going to be a complete shock like it was in the Kansas game last year.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think we're going to learn a lot about both teams, right? Like Nebraska might be 3-0, Illinois might be 3-0, but how good was Kansas really, with that loss against UNLV? how good is Colorado? Sanders is good.
Yeah.
Travis Hunter's very good. But how good is the rest of that team depth wise, coaching wise? So I think today is actually going to be a very good barometer on both sides. Just see. I'm looking for a competitive game, one way or the other. I don't see it not happening, but it'll be a good feeling just to see where we're at in the Big Ten. I'm very, very confident that we're not going to be in the bottom tier of the Big Ten, like maybe some uh, haters out there, and we're projecting in the preseason. But are we in the flat middle, or are we good enough to possibly be in like that second tier, outside the Ohio States and Oregon's, and looks like USC?
Yeah, I am intrigued on this matchup because of the new clock rules and the new 2 minute warning and the new helmet system. It feels like the amount of possessions in college football has plummeted from last year. It doesn't seem as like chaotic. It's more methodical. So if Illinois were to get blown out, that would be a huge disappointment just because the possessions aren't there for blowouts to happen. So you hope that Luke Altmaier is able to lead a few drives um, to keep this game competitive, and even more so, like the lack of possessions. If Illinois is able to just get somewhat of a push on this offensive line, grind away some of that clock, that is going to be huge and vital for Illinois because if Illinois is able to carve out a 7 or an 8 minute drive in the second quarter, get the ball back after halftime, something along those lines, that can shift things so quickly to, again, putting the pressure on the Nebraska fan base, putting the pressure on the young quarterback to make plays and to lead the Huskers back into the game. So I think the new clock rules are going to help a team like Illinois out, keep things closer, even if the discrepancy in talent seems to be there.
Yeah, I can't verify this stat, but this afternoon while I was picking my daughter up, I was watching an Uncle Lou video on YouTube, and he was previewing the Nebraska Illinois game, and he brought up the stat that these two teams are two of the slowest teams in college football. They're both in the 100s when it comes to how long of possession that they take between each play. So, again, the ideal scenario for Illinois is to get up early, be up 7-0, 10-3, and then have one of those at the end of second quarter methodical 7-minute drives, and be able to ideally score a touchdown right there, 17-3. And guess what? We get the ball back in the third quarter. This crowd tonight, I mean, there's already been Twitter videos of the students piling in hours before kickoff.
They had online classes today, Sonny, for an Illinois Nebraska matchup.
How
I
fitting,
realize it's a
yeah.
Friday. I realize it's something random that happens throughout the college football world, but this isn't Nebraska versus Ohio State, Nebraska USC. This is Nebraska, Illinois, and they shut down classes. Only it needed personnel to show up on campus today. This is going to be a raucous environment, and I think it's so good for college football that you have a fan base like Nebraska that's
For sure.
good now, and so that makes me happy as a college football fan. But the fact that you have an Illini team that has just as much excitement so far, I know Illinois is very fickle, where it can turn to basketball season at the snap. If it's a 21-0 game, everyone will be like, all right, well, what happened to Tim Anderson today? Like, that'll become part of the conversation. But the fact that Illinois is very excited about all of this, the Kansas sellout, Nebraska going over there. This is what college football is all about, and it just makes me happy as a Illini football fan. There's not too many of us in the huge Illini athletic space, but it just makes me happy that there's genuine excitement for this program, and that's the only way that we're going to propel the athletic program up a notch is if football is successful, and Josh Whitman sees that, and this is where Brett Bielema can move on to another phase of what this coaching rebuild looks like from just trying to bare bones to where you can try to get some more fancy and more exceeded expectation stuff that is what a coach dreams about. So a game like this is all part of it.
Exactly. I mean, last year, we started a line cast last year in August, and it seemed like during football season, it was just you and I talking to each other. The
Yeah.
interactions were low. Uh, the football fan base, I think it's there, but they need to be pulled in. And right now, they've been pulled in. Basically, that victory over Kansas was huge for the enthusiasm around the program. And I think, well, maybe I hope that most Illini fans know that tonight's going to be a very tough matchup. But I don't know about you. Again, the energy around a football game for on the Illinois side is something I haven't seen in a couple seasons now. And even 2 seasons ago, when we started off 7-1, we had lost that first game to Indiana. And so, we were kind of deflated from that to begin with. We haven't been 3-0 since 2011. So this
Yeah.
is, I talked about this before. Like, the fan base is there, but the fans have kind of they wanted the football team to prove it to them. I think they proved it to them with that Kansas victory. And so now the fans are kind of all in. And now it's really up to the football team tonight to show a competitive effort, show some fire, make it a game. Ultimately, if we lose, I don't sure people will be bummed out, but I can't imagine like real football fans would be too upset. But just make it a game, and again, the next 4 out of 5 games are going to be tough. Let's the bowl game is all that matters.
Billy says, "Let's go, boys! Game night. Like the video, everyone. Yes, like the video. Subscribe to Illini Cast. Even if you're not an Illini fan, we talked a lot of other Big Ten things that happened throughout the season about football and basketball. Ryan Donovan, Negative Nancy over here. NU will have this game won at half. I don't know, Ryan, if you are a Husker fan. I know there's a
I
lot
was
of
going to
you
say,
out there in the college YouTube space out there. So if you're a Nebraska fan, hey, best of luck. I don't think you'll have this game won at the half just based on Brett Bielema's style of play. But you might as well get the victory at the end. Who knows? This is going to be a competitive game. I think feeling that in my heart right now. So this game is very, very, very exciting. Sonny, where is your confidence level in this game?
if we were at home, I probably would have predicted a Illinois victory. I would have said we would have surprised people tonight because I think even in campaign, the spread probably would be in favor of Nebraska. But with what we just talked about, with how excited the fan base is on a Friday night, I would have imagined Memorial Stadium would have been packed, a lot of energy out there. Right now, I'll probably say I guess I'll just say it now. My final prediction for this game was 20-17 Nebraska. I think we lose by 3, but we more than cover the 9.5 points favor the spread that is currently for this game. I think we keep it close. I'm just giving it to Nebraska just because of the reasons I said I would have predicted Illinois to win had it been in Champaign. The fact it's in Lincoln, and I don't know how confident I am in us figuring out that offensive line. But at the same time, if Illinois comes out with a victory, I think I would be a lot less surprised than a lot of other people. I feel like I'm more confident that we're going to be putting up a good fight than a lot of other people who are previewing this game.
Yeah, Kirkland and I went through the schedule after the Kansas game, and I know Kansas has kind of taken a nosedive a little bit after the Atlanta game, losing to UNLV. But I still have confidence that Illinois can win this game. I'm predicting Illinois to win 24-21
Love it.
against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I know that's crazy. I know there's things that stacked against Illinois, but I have not seen an Illinois offense in a very long time that has weapons like Caden Fagan, a physical running back. There's been some troubles this year with him, just in terms of finding the hole, acceleration, and shotgun. Uh, but Khalil Valentine, the speedster running back, Josh McCray, the blend of both. Pat Bryant, a physical wide receiver out on the outside, and then Zachary Franklin, who the way he sat in the zone last week against Central Michigan, that was a pro wide receiver move right there. There, like, it wasn't the sexiest play. It was 12-yard gain, no big deal, first down. But I have not seen the eyes of a wide receiver that did that in a very long time. Joshi Mator Bebe was just a physical specimen
Yeah.
at wide receiver for Illinois. But to have that, like, just ability to use that athleticism to know where to be with a certain defensive call. I think there are certain things there with Luke Altmaier and Zachary Franklin that they're going to be able to get some of the best of this Nebraska secondary. They played a pass happy team against Colorado, and with that team, they are one of the worst running teams in the entire country, the Colorado Buffaloes. And I feel like with the just halfway balance that Illinois has between passing and rushing, it at least gives Nebraska something to think about. And it's not like they can just zero in, pin their ears back like they did against Shadir Sanders, and double up on Travis Hunter. There are ways that this offense can exploit this tough Nebraska defense. And on the defensive side, I mean, the secondary, it's won a lot of hearts back after last year. 2 years ago was awesome with Ryan Walters' defense, and oh my gosh, look at this! This defense is incredible. Last year was obviously a major step back, but it feels like Aaron Henry has firm feet on the ground and not just learning on the job anymore. And the staff that Brett put around Aaron Henry, I feel like this team is a little bit better than people anticipated. Again, you have your head coach back, you have your quarterback back, you have your offensive coordinator back, you have your defensive coordinator back. What's the recipe for upsetting a team on the road in the Big Ten? Having those four pillars back, because there's no confusion. It's comfortable for everybody to get back in the flow even after a Dylan Raiola 70-yard pass touchdown. You have the experience, and that's where Illinois can win this game.
Yeah, and we here at Illini Cast and Armchair Illini, wish our condolences to Aaron Henry and his family for the loss of Aaron's sister, and amazing what the staff around him were able to pick up while Aaron had to go take care of things with family. And I think their funeral is on Saturday, but I mean, give the flowers to Aaron Henry, right? Like, what he was arguably the biggest question mark coming into this year. You were questioning whether he was good enough to be a defensive coordinator. I certainly was questioning whether he was good enough to be a defensive coordinator. Guess what? He's performed better than Barry Lundy Jr. has, and all of us were, very excited about Barry Lundy Jr. and the talent that we have on the offense. So it's one of those things where it turns out Brett Bielema may know what he's talking about. After working decades in college football, all off season long, whenever the question about Aaron Henry would come up, Brett has insisted that, hey, the biggest leap for a coach always comes from year one to year two. He said that in multiple conversations and press conferences. And I think we're seeing it with Aaron. We're seeing Xavier Scott, Miles Scott, these guys weren't very highly recruited. These are guys who are just coached up very, very well. The Nebraska gentleman that I had on my show was taking a look at the all 22 tape, and he talked about, he's like, these guys aren't crazy talented, but they know exactly where to be. And when the ball comes, they know how to grab it. And as simple as it sounds, there's a lot of 4 stars, a lot of 5 stars out there who can't do that. And again, that gives all credit to this coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, player development is something that Illinois has had to rely on, and I think Aaron Henry has kind of captured lightning in a bottle with these defensive backs and their progression, and that's so awesome to see, and it's going to help out in recruiting in the future as well. Charles Johnson says, need to see more of that freshman running back. Sonny and I have talked about it a lot. I think Khalil will get the majority of carries. Like, that's my bold prediction
Oh, wow.
outside of the
Okay.
score game. I think Khalil and his speed, I think he can exploit some things that Caden just can't at this point. And I think in terms of touches as well in the passing game, I think he can help out there in the passing game. So I think there's going to be more Khalil Valentine carries than Caden Fegan, which would be a bold prediction for me. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a bold prediction for sure. I mean, I can see it. There's again, if we win, I think Luke and Khalil Valentine and a guy like Zachary Franklin would be a big part of that. There's going to be controversy afterwards, I'm sure. If Khalil out carries Caden Fagan, but I don't think that matters. Right now, it's all about winning games, and this is nothing against Caden. It's just I think that we're dealing with the weaknesses in front of us, and the offensive line, as good as these two tackles have been, we're still struggling with the running game. And the style of play right now fits better for a kid like Khalil Valentine than it does Caden. And so, it could happen.
I mean, look at the history of a line of running backs. How many times have we seen like a guy have a dominant season and then the second string usurps him? Then you think, oh, we have a new big time running back. Second string comes in. It feels like that's been a trend for a lot of football, no matter the coach, even going back to the Lovey Smith era. So I think that's something that could happen tonight, and this could be, like you said, the coming out party for Khalil Valentine. Zero respect, respect, love it. Thanks for joining. We're having a lot of guys that we have not seen in this chat, so we appreciate the interaction here on Illini Cast. Charles Johnson says over under for Altmaier is 200 passing yards. He should get that even in a loss. I think he will
I think so.
with the passing ability of Zachary Franklin, the catching ability of Zachary Franklin and Pat Bryant. I think he will get over 200 passing yards.
For those of you who are wagers and like to throw a little money on the game, my biggest wager of the game is Zachary Franklin over receiving yards. I think it was something like 53 and a half or something like that. I forget the exact number, but I
Drive to
think
the Indiana border, folks.
for me, it's with the emergence of Pat Bryant. A lot of folks have been talking about him. Big size, he can make plays, he can make catches. Nebraska has one very, very good cornerback, and I think a lot of the focus is going to be on Pat Bryant. And because of that, Zachary is going to be able to. I would not be surprised if Zachary Franklin ends up with 9 to 11 catches this game. It's obvious Luke trusts him, and I think this could be like if my picks to click. I think Zachary would have probably been number 2 for me behind Khalil.
Charles Johnson again says NU coming off a big game last week. They're due for regression with that young quarterback. I don't think a lot of people expect Dylan Raiola to have like a bad game. He's a freshman. You look at all the freshmen that have played college football, they have some unexpected clunkers. Like, yes, you might not have the best game against an Ohio State or a dominant defense like Michigan, but every freshman quarterback I've ever seen has a clunker, and it's just up to the other team. Do you win with that clunker, or do you let them have it? Do you snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, essentially? So I think it's up to Illinois to take advantage of those mistakes. If he does throw an interception to Xavier Scott, are you going to give it a 3-and-out after that game, after that interception, or are you going to take it down, at least get a field goal out of those mistakes? I think that's going to be the defining feature of this game is if Dylan Raiola does have a clunker, will Illinois be able to capitalize both defensively and offensively, which I really personally think they can. With the way Luke Altmaier's playing, no interceptions thrown this year, and he seems to have confidence. Like he's not seeing ghosts in his lap anymore. He's seeing the field, and Zachary Franklin is helping him out with that vision. So I think Luke Altmaier is going to be able to be the mature quarterback, help this defense that does take advantage of some Dylan Raiola mistakes.
Yeah, I think that's been the biggest back and forth I've had with Nebraska fans all week because, as I said at the beginning of the show, I think the game script for Illinois winning is going up early and making Dylan throw an interception, or essentially just force throws. And we've got a ball hawking secondary where we might be able to come down with one and come back and let's do a pick six. All of a sudden Illinois is up 10-0 and Dylan just threw an interception. Let's see what that kid is made of. If he has a bad game, that's not me speaking ill of Dylan Raiola. As you said, he's an 18-year-old freshman. It's going to happen at some point. He's not going to have 12 straight great games. Every
Dylan is not winning the Heisman.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
Nebraska
Every good
fans,
quarterback.
get that through your skull.
Every
Dylan Raiola is not your Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah, and even Heisman Trophy winners will have a mild game every now and then. So for me, it's put pressure on him, put him on his back. If you can get a pick six on him, and then all of a sudden be leading, take the air out of that stadium that we both agree is going to be rocking. Make him feel like he's responsible for bringing Nebraska back to, force a couple plays and then maybe confuse him with some of the coverages that we're giving him. I think that's the key. And I'm pretty sure that's what Brett and Aaron Henry are going to be game planning for.
I like the way Bolts and Solar Bears think. IU 64-3. That would be something.
Yeah. Unless he means Indiana beating Charlotte, IU 64-3. Hopefully he meant UI.
Yes. And then PG says, this is the Huskers' first test. This is the best team they're going to play so far. If Illinois played Colorado at home in Champaign, I think the line would be Illinois by 5.5. I think that would be the line just because of the athleticism of a Travis Hunter, the athleticism of a Shadur Sanders that can be game breakers. But I think Illinois has a more complete team than Colorado if those two teams were to play. So if you take that with the likes of Nebraska, I think that's where you got to give Illinois a shot here, at least if you're one of the more negative fans of Illinois football right now. I think you at least have to think that this is going to be a closer game. 2 possessions if a bad interception is thrown late in the game by Luke Allmeyer. But I think this is going to be a tight one throughout the entire freaking game.
Yeah, I guess my question would be, who would be favored, or at least what would the line be in a neutral field between Kansas and Colorado? Again, Colorado's
Do they play this year?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure. But this is the same for both teams. Nebraska is obviously the toughest team that Illinois has played this year too. That's why I mentioned earlier today that this is going to be a good barometer for both sides, for both sides of the field. For Illinois to see where they stack up with Nebraska, who's one of the stories, Nebraska and Indiana, of the Big Ten season so far. And for Nebraska, let's be honest, if Nebraska comes out and dominates tonight, then a lot of the confidence that their fans have been showing might be validated. Then you can be like, okay, Nebraska, it's already been mentioned that they have a backdoor way of possibly making, the playoff. Well, a dominant victory tonight over what we perceive to be a very solid Illinois team could jumpstart that run.
Kansas would be favored by 9 points, according to Vegas Insider, if the two teams were to lock up right now. But they do play November 23rd, so we'll see what the game looks like. Nebraska, the voice of college football, with 2 sunglasses emojis. If I had sunglasses, I would put them on too, because I'm feeling just as confident as you are, Huskers. I think this Illini team has something to prove, and I think that Brett Bielema is the right coach to handle a tough environment like that. I think he has his guys prepared. I think this is the most prepared Illinois football team I've seen in a long time, simply because the lack of penalties in a game like Kansas. Yes, there was the Aiden Lawfrey drop touchdown pass that game, but on the whole, this team has been pretty good in terms of penalties. Overall, yes, there have been some moments. Every college football team will have those moments, but it's not like last year where there was just hold after hold after hold on the offensive line, limited pass interference calls, limited targeting penalties. It feels like this team is way more mature than they were last year, and you're going to have that maturity to beat a team like Nebraska in Lincoln.
Yeah, I mean, Melvin Priestley's had his moments with penalties, and Brett really did call him out on it at the press conference after last game. But yeah, you're right. Like, this isn't a situation like last year where Taz Nicholson seemed to be called for a pass interference a couple times a game. But again, at the same time, keep in mind, and Nebraska at the Voice of College Football is Justin, one of my co-hosts from the Big Ten show, and he was the gentleman who watched that all 22 tape, and he's the one who warned me about it. He's like, "Hey, Nebraska wide receivers are going to try. They're going to try to instigate pass interference calls. So, this whole penalty thing is going to be something to keep your eye on this year, or this particular game, because again, the crowd is going to be loud. And so if there's contact between a Nebraska wide receiver and a Illinois DB, the crowd's going to be asking for that flag. And so there's going to be a lot of pressure on that referee to throw that flag. So, that could be one of the decisive factors in this game.
Justin responds back, says, I'm not overconfident. Illinois defense is very opportunistic, as we've shown this year. So it will be fascinating to see Dylan Royal taking on this secondary. RS, watching from the
Yeah,
Philippines.
all right.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to us. The internet's an amazing place. I'm recording from Alto Pass, Illinois, down here in southern Illinois. You are in Texas. We have audience from the Philippines. I mean, the internet is an amazing place. And while you're at the internet, go ahead and like and subscribe the Illini Cast, and then follow Armchair Illini on Twitter for articles that are going to be in response to this Illini-Nebraska matchup, Illinois basketball stuff, and Illinois volleyball, who's doing really well this non-conference slate thus far. So a lot of good Illini stuff happening, but we talked about it a little bit in the last episode, but Tim Anderson officially is gone from the University of Illinois, an indefinite leave of absence. Now that the news is official, what are your closing thoughts on the Tim Anderson era?
What an era. He brought in Terrence Shannon Jr. He was beloved by basically every recruit that he brought in. Obviously, Chicago, I really think he had a big part, especially it was such a roller coaster in the sense where we had lost Orlando Antigua. We had lost Chin Coleman. A lot of Illinois fans were doom and gloom, saying, this is just more proof that Illinois is a stepping stone program. There's always bigger programs out there. And then the hiring of Tim Anderson just took so long. I remember it took months, and people were like, why haven't they announced yet? Why haven't they announced yet? And then here he comes in, and I almost feel confident in saying the recruiting didn't drop off at all from losing Orlando to bringing in Tim Anderson. And you saw how talented of a recruiter he was. I'm shocked by this move. Genuinely, if you had told me this was going to happen 3 weeks ago, no way I would have believed you. But it looks like it was just a matter of time once the rumors started coming out a couple weeks ago. And so I just hope ultimately that everyone's leaving on good terms, because Tim was a very valuable piece of the staff. He was a valuable piece of our Elite Eight run that we just made. And obviously he's got a presence in Chicago. So it's I hope that the Illinois brand really isn't tarnished in the city.
Yeah, being I'm a huge Bill Simmons podcast fan, and I'm going to pull my best Bill Simmons out there. But I think Tim Anderson era will be viewed as the ultimate stabilizer era of Illinois basketball, because, like you said, there was so much loss for that Illini basketball staff, with Gentry leaving and Orlando Antigua leaving and Chin Coleman leaving. I mean, that is a lot of guys you have to replace, a lot of regions of the country that you have to rethink. And then here comes Tim Anderson. And he's like, no worries. I train a lot of NBA guys. I have strong Chicago ties. And there was nothing that was missed at all from the Chin Coleman era. And Obviously, we missed Orlando Antigua still. We brought him back for a reason. But seeing the 1 year of the Tim Anderson, Orlando Antigua superpower together would have been awesome. Um, but but you just missed out on that. But that's the one thing that I would love to have seen is like the Avengers assembling
Exactly.
moment.
We would
Yeah,
have had, in
but
my opinion, inarguably the best coaching staff in the country.
absolutely. So I do love the stabilization that Tim Anderson brought to the Illini, and I can't thank him enough for that as a Illini fan. But yeah, sometimes things come before basketball, and we'll see what transpires in his career if he just wants to be the Chicago dude. And I really think that things will end in good terms with the two entities of Tim Anderson and Illini basketball. So that's why I'm not like too upset about this, like because I think Brad Underwood's going to bring in a really talented staff member before next season. But as of the short term, it does stink a little bit. But you do have Tyler Underwood on staff as well, where he's done a good job of assembling an offense that works in today's era of college sports. So I think that. It'll be a short term sting, but long term, I don't think it'll be like the end for Illinois basketball or anything like that.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's like I said, the stinks. But if there's one thing that Brad Underwood has proven is that when a guy like Orlando Antigua leaves, he brings in a guy like Tim Anderson. He's already done this before. So it's just one of those where you just have to have confidence in your head coach and that he knows what he's doing. And yeah, it hurts because I liked Tim Anderson, but I haven't lost any optimism for the program moving forward.
All right, Sonny, we are about an hour away from kickoff on Fox. What's on your menu tonight for your food in this game?
I don't know if I'm going to have time to eat. Follow me at the Sunny V. I'm going to be doing a live watch party for this game. So if you're going to be watching it on your TV or big screen, pull it up on your iPad and you can watch the game with me. We'll see. I might have time to sneak in a granola bar here and there for during the commercials, but I think I'm just going to be too nervous and too on edge to really have a full on meal.
I'm having a bunch of meatballs in celebration of all the Nebraska meatball fans that are out there that have been in Illini fans mentions throughout this entire week on social media. So a meatball for the meatball tonight for the Nebraska
Love
Cornhuskers.
it.
Um, but yeah, what is your final score prediction? Let's recap and then we'll wrap things up.
Again, I don't want Illini fans mad at me. Just keep in mind, I had us losing to Kansas too, and we ended up winning. So I do have us losing a very close game to Nebraska, 20-17 tonight in Memorial Stadium in Lincoln.
I'm tired of all the negativity coming from you, Sonny. It doesn't fit you at all. Illinois is winning 24-21, and I cannot be more excited about this Illinois football team. So yeah, even if a loss comes and it's a close loss, I still have all the faith in the world that Brett Bielema and Aaron Henry have things going on. But this should be a fun matchup. This is what Illinois fans have been searching for so long is relevancy. This
That's
is
it.
the ultimate relevancy game
Right.
where Yahoo's College Football Inquirer were talking about Illinois, Nebraska. You had the Cover 3 podcast on CBS. You've had National Locked On. You've had every single major podcast talking college football, even the athletics articles about the spread of this game, ESPN, the list goes on. People are talking about Illinois football for the first time, and it's not just because like of a guy trying to get a Heisman Trophy. So this is a fun experience to be at as an Illini fan, and I just want fans to savor it because this is what big time college football is all about. This is what the SEC fans get all hyped up for week in and week out, and Illinois is finally a part of the national conversation and on the national stage, and it's just up to Brett Bielema and the staff and the players to keep on this stage and not just get yanked off by the cane or get tomatoes thrown at them.
Exactly. Illinois matters. And, we haven't mattered for a very long time. So sit back today, put your legs up, have a beer or two, and just enjoy the game. Let's just hope that there's a nice competitive game, that no one side embarrasses the other. And, we've got a long season ahead of us, and there's some challenging games coming up, starting with tonight. But just take it one game at a time. And I know that's what Brett and Aaron already do. And so we as fans, we should do the same.
If there's a win, I will try to be on live afterwards to talk with all the Illini fans out there. Sonny, I know you're doing the same at Locked On, I believe. So you'll find us talking Illini sports tonight if Illinois were to win this game against Nebraska. But yes, follow us at IlliniCast on Twitter and subscribe on YouTube. Find Armchair Illini at Twitter. They've done a great job of previewing everything. They're one of the largest growing Illini sports websites out there. So please give them a chance and read their content. But this has been IlliniCast. I'm Austin Berkland alongside Sonny Verma. Thank you for hanging out with us for this pregame. Go Illini, and this should be a good one. Thank you, Sonny.
ILO.